Hello, welcome to the podcast. I'm Timmy with Link Building HQ. We have Naveed behind the camera, and joining us today is Chris Kirksey with Direction.com. And hi, Chris. How's it going?
It is going fantastic. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty well, quite well. Yeah, so we're going to be jumping right into it. And I think something that jumps straight out is your career. You have the Army, the NSA, CIA, and then SEO. Uh,
Yeah.
tell tell us a little bit about yourself and about that.
Yeah. When I was 20, I believe it was 2011, I joined the Army. And ultimately, I was trying to go to school, trying to go to college, and it was too expensive to go where I wanted to go. So I went to a local community college, and it was something that um, I couldn't really get into. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to a real college. I'm going to have the Army pay for it. So I joined the Army, and the my course of life really changed in every way I didn't think it would, in positive and negative ways. But when I went to the Army, I learned Farsi and actually became the first Army enlisted soldier to be awarded to learn a second language, which was Dari.
Okay.
And when I was learning those languages out in California, and basically I went from there over to the NSA. And it was at the NSA that I was like, you know what? This is really cool stuff and I love it. But man, I am bored sitting behind a desk all day. And that's when I decided I was going to try and deploy. And it took some time, but eventually I got 3 deployments overseas. I went to Afghanistan twice and I went to Iraq once. And I learned a lot there. While in the military, taught me a lot around leadership and leading people. It wasn't so much in terms of the business aspect, but I was able to take a lot of concepts from that into business today. And I learned, especially when I was at the NSA and the CIA, I learned a lot about strategy and pattern recognition, which is, of course, important in digital marketing, just in a different context. And when I was overseas, there was some things that I saw that you can't really unsee or unexperience, but they actually ended up at the time I didn't know how they would be positive in my life until years later in running the company direction.com. But after being deployed 3 times, I decided, this isn't the life for me. It's there. I saw children who needed medical help and they couldn't get it. There was people dying because they couldn't access basic healthcare or doctors. It was really sad to see. When I was when I got back to the stateside after my last deployment, that's when I decided to be my last deployment, and I left what I thought was my dream job, the career that I thought I'd retire from, and everyone started calling me crazy. They were asking if I was okay, but I was not going to wake up every morning just saying, "Hey, what if?" Like I knew I needed to do something else, so I decided to just start a company because I figured, hey, I've faced bullets before. Spreadsheets they can't kill me, and I've had a lot to learn since then. It's been a very rewarding experience, but as the company developed, is we started working with more and more healthcare type clients, and that's when I realized that's where my heart was. It brought me back to when I was overseas, and I couldn't help people who needed medical help or healthcare. I mean, I wasn't a doctor, and that once we started working on campaigns for direction for our own clients, and I was seeing some reviews coming in for some clients on how some of our clients were literally saving lives, and I was like, this is it. This is the mission that I built the company. This is the purpose of the company. I finally figured out after years of just taking on any types of clients. But yeah, that's in short the story of direction and how I got into digital marketing.
Yeah, that's That's very interesting. Just navigating such different worlds and then jumping into SEO and having it be meaningful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, it's been very meaningful is a great word. Yeah, I like that. It's meaningful to work on campaigns that are actually for clients that are helping people, because that's, it's where my heart was when I was deployed. And I felt like, what I was doing was great and I was able to save lives, but in different ways. And now that I can really help companies who are doctors and therapists who can help people and save their lives, that's really where the work feels most rewarding. So I'm so happy that we've niched and focused into healthcare 100%, especially when it comes to SEO. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. And when did you start direction.com?
It was in 2016. So it was
Okay.
a rough start because I had no idea what I was doing. I had no business background, no business expertise. I didn't go to college for business or anything. And like I said before, I was just like, you know what? If I've, if I survived 3 tours overseas, I can survive running a business. But it's tested me in ways that I had no idea were coming. All positive. I do believe there's positive and negative to everything in life, and sometimes I don't find it out until years later. And yeah, I mean, starting Direction.com was definitely one of the best things I've ever done in my life, other than getting married to my wife and having the 3 beautiful children I have.
Wonderful. And you definitely have come a long way. You were just in Chiang Mai giving a talk. And I would like to pick your brain on how that was and how has, in your career in SEO, how has SEO changed over the years up to that point?
Yeah, so I went to Chiang Mai to speak on, basically, I don't like to call it programmatic SEO because that has a little bit of a negative connotation to it, and for good reasons. What we built was something called Mosaic, and what I wanted to do was address all of the issues that traditional programmatic SEO has, where you'll see the same page over and over again, and sometimes they'll just switch out the city name to try to rank in that city. Or if you're trying to create a lot of pages at scale, it's hard to also have great content on each one of those individual pages. So quality of the content, uniqueness of the content, these are all issues that the programmatic industry faces. And that's when I went back to my roots of language, and this time to English. And I started reading a whole lot of books around rhetorical devices and literary frameworks and formulas, storytelling. And that's when I was started to piece things together and say, hey, off the top of my head, I couldn't give you, 20 rhetorical devices, their exact meanings and exact ways to use them. For example, like binary framing or blazon, brevitas, and anachrism, agenda setting, abstract, absolute claims, akismus. I have hundreds of rhetorical devices, but I was like, how, these are scientifically proven frameworks, and psychologically they work on selling people. Thing is, they've been used for thousands of years, primarily for poetry or politics and like speech writing, things like that. And I couldn't find anything around how to use them in a marketing framework. So I spent a lot of time just building lists of different rhetorical devices for different types of marketing copy. And turns out they work really well, especially with like trying to convert people and properly speaking to your target audience. And that's when I was able to basically leverage AI, who knows all these rhetorical devices already, exactly how to make a sentence with them. And so it's able to save a ton of time and create incredible content at scale.
Oh, we can double back. I wanted to talk to you more about the eloquence formulas. But yeah, so you were saying, not to cut you off, but how SEO has changed, and then we can double back.
Yeah, SEO, when I first started in 2016, SEO it wasn't easy, but it was easier than it is today. And the only reason I say it was easier is because Well, number one, less competition, more and more, as everybody's now realized the power of SEO, everyone is doing it that one actually wants to grow their business. And so there was a bit less competition back then. And also Google algorithm updates usually were positive things, right? So if somebody was trying to do any black hat link building or black hat anything, tactics on the site, like hiding words on pages and stuff like that, Google's algorithm updates actually helped the sites that were doing everything right and really putting out great quality. And I'd say the biggest change in the SEO industry is that Google's algorithm updates now are just out of control. Like they're just hitting sites left and right for reasons that everyone's like, what? How is this site all of a sudden benefiting from this algorithm update when this site that has so much more quality content and provides so much more value, how is this one like getting crushed by the algorithm? So it's gotten a lot more tricky, especially over the years. So many SEO tools have come out, and I feel like if you're new to the SEO industry, it's kind of tough to figure out which are the right tools to be using, which are the ones that you should ignore. But it's become more crowded of an industry overall, and because of that, it has its negatives and positives. But I'd say the algorithm update changes, that's been the biggest difference from when I first came on. At first, it was like, all right, Google's pushing out all these crappy strategies that aren't providing any value. And then today, fast forward to 8, 9, 10 years later, and they're just running these wild algorithm updates saying that it's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, half the time I wasn't looking for a Reddit result for my search, yet I get a Reddit result. And there's more ads on the page too, which is kind of why I've more so turned to large language models for my searches, like ChatGPT, Grok. Grok has been extremely impressive in the way that it's been growing, and Claude is also amazing. But I use primarily Grok and GPT to search now over Google because for now they don't have ads, and I hate ads.
Yeah, nobody likes ads. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people using LLMs as search engines, which interests me. I think they've gotten a lot better at controlling the AI hallucinations, so it's a little bit more accurate as opposed to them just making whatever up. Because when like ChatGPT was getting super popular, you could make it say a lot of weird things.
Oh yeah, especially with Google's AI overviews, they were throwing out some wild answers to things.
Yeah,
and for reference, Grok is X's language model, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. I would say that Grok is the most conversational large language model, and it's the most fun to use. I don't feel like it's not up to par yet exactly in terms of content creation with ChatGPT and Claude. But I do believe that's primarily because I can't build custom projects in Grok yet. That might be something on the roadmap soon. Or it could already be out for all I know. I just haven't upgraded to the next tier of Grok. But and the other thing I love about Grok is it's really easy to do SEO for it. Basically, it'll tell you exactly why it referenced specific companies for your query, and then it'll tell you, and then I'll say, hey, well, in the future, to get this company to show up first when someone asks you a similar question, what do I do? What's the strategy? And then it'll literally break down the exact strategy to do. And a lot of it is obviously because it's X, it's around the tweets you put out. And so when I was asking Grok about why I wasn't referenced as the top healthcare SEO company, it was like, well, here's some tweets, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, so all I have to do is tweet about healthcare SEO more. And it was like, yeah, you want me to create a list of 20 tweets you can push that'll help? I was like, yep.
So it's basically using tweets and X as its training data.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It uses the internet in general, but yes, it does heavily leverage its own platform, which is awesome because it makes it a lot easier for brands who are small and they want to get found, they want to get known. well, just tweet about what you do. Like,
Yeah.
really quite simple, but keep it consistent, because I did notice that after 2 days, results would change if I wasn't tweeting. So I just started scheduling out a bunch of tweets on the company Twitter account, the X account. But I do
Smart.
like how it is relevant in terms of timeliness. And it's very agreeable too, because at one point it gave me an answer about what was it? Something, some kind of health related question, and it brought up what one of those top healthcare, like something MD, Doc MD, whatever it was,
WebMD.com.
and then
WebMD.
WebMD, and then Healthline. And I was just straight up like, hey, look, I don't trust WebMD or Healthline. Find me the answer on from like small business sites who talk about this. And it was like, I totally agree. They're both controlled by major corporations and media, so you really can't trust them. I was like, then why'd you give them to me in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny. It's a very conversational language model.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious on what the adaptability of Grok has been, since you have so many different models. Like ChatGPT, I'm sure has a lot more users than Grok. But
Oh, yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how because it's very recent too.
Definitely more recently really coming up strong. But I believe last I checked, it was something like, I want to say 8 million users a day or something, which is nothing compared to GPT, but it's
Wow.
still pretty big.
So taking it back to programmatic SEO,
Yeah.
you said something where programmatic, you didn't like that term. Is it problematic?
Problematic SEO.
What was the you said something where you didn't like the term programmatic. You used a different term.
Yeah. uh, Local landing pages, geo-targeted pages, local SEO pages. There's other terms. I don't really like to say programmatic because,
Mm-hmm.
programmatic is tied to duplicate content that's not unique, people who aren't checking hundreds of pages or thousands of pages for actual quality content. They're built to rank, and it's been harder for the programmatic industry for sure with Google algorithm updates.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I did the goal for us whenever we're creating these pages is also to get found in these large language models. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
asking them strategies that we've been implementing, and apparently large language models don't really like programmatic content. So it's awesome
Oh.
because our content for our local pages that we're making at scale are actually getting indexed and referenced in these large language models because they are unique. So one of the things that it was saying is, I think it was GPT. It says with GPT, they can tell which pages actually are quality because of the repetition of headers on all the pages. Because it was like, well, even if the paragraph content below those headers are different, it was like you should still have unique headers that better explain the paragraph below it. It definitely makes it harder to create pages at scale, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we've built a way around it that doesn't make it easier for sure, but it definitely does ensure that we're putting out quality, unique content, and it ranks, which is the best part.
Yeah, and in your talk, the part of the reason what makes that content different, you were talking about the rhetorical devices, which is something I could definitely wrap my head around. But you were mentioning eloquence formulas. What exactly is that? Like, what are those? Can we get
So
an example?
Yeah. So eloquence formulas, basically what I am doing are layering rhetorical devices on top of each other to create. So one rhetorical device you can use to create, a line of a sentence of copy. When you layer them and say in the first sentence, do this, second one, use this, third, use this, fourth, use this, you can actually create an entire framework that each sentence has a unique rhetorical device where it flows properly. Because sometimes if you just throw them on top of each other, then the paragraph is not going to sound great. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I think we can set that up.
All right. Let me share and show you. So these are different
There we go.
formulas that I've built. So these are ones that I I built, tested, and ensured that they are great. And let me zoom in on this so you can see it a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we have hundreds of these, and for different campaigns, we'll build different ones depending on the industry. But some of them I'm not sure if I pronounce it, so pardon me if I mispronounce some things. But like ideologia, raising stakes, subversion, and polysyndeton. You could say alliteration with memorability in the first sentence, followed by a syndeton with urgency in the second, and a plosive connection in the third, climax with culmination in the final sentence. So I've built tons of these over the years, and exhorting with a gripping opening that pulls in the reader in the first sentence, followed by brachologia with a fast-paced structure that heightens urgency in the second. And I can even show you, just for fun, if I were to take, say, this one, and let me pull up ChatGPT. And if I were to say, grab, give me any website, I'll show you something cool.
Yeah, use ours, Link Building HQ.
Hey.
All right, let's go for it. All right. So I'm going to just take this little paragraph here. Well, let's see. This is 3 sentences. I want to see if you have anything where it is kind of 4. Well, that's fine. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'm going to copy this. And then I will go over to ChatGPT. Say, here is some of my sales copy. Please use each of the following literary frameworks. Eloquence formulas is something that I kind of coined, so it doesn't understand if I just
Okay.
eloquence. Each of the following literary frameworks to reword the sales copy. All right, so I'm going to take one of them here. Let's see, I'm going to give it like, say, 4 different options. I've got another one. And the cool thing with all of these language models is they'll all kind of say it a little differently. So while ChatGPT runs this, I'm also going to pull up Claude. And let's also try X or Grok. Now I'll go over to GPT. Let's see. So this one, stop chasing backlinks. Time's tight, rankings won't wait, clients won't pause. Link building is a black hole, sucking hours, momentum, and growth. We handle links so you can drive conversions. We build authority so you build results. We get the backlinks, you get the wins. I don't know. And then here's another one. Outsource your backlinks now. You need the power, trust, and rankings. Links get you all 3. We find the targets, write the outreach, land the placements, secure the mentions, deliver reports so they so clean they sell themselves. You stop worrying, you stop wasting time, you start ranking, you start scaling. And then so you can see basically it's using different frameworks here, but let's also look at what Claude did. So backlinks fuel your rankings while you remain trapped in on-page quicksand. Google demands authority signals, yet building them steals hours you can't afford to lose. We become your link gardeners, planning and nurturing connections across the web that blossom into rank power. I'm not sure I like that much. Yeah.
Can't win them all.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, this is amazing.
I'm going to look at what Grok did. Take control of your SEO success. Let's handle the back. Whether you're an agency juggling clients, a marketer balancing priorities, or a business owner chasing growth, our white label service fits your needs. Quality links drive rankings. Everyone knows this truth. By outsourcing link building, you unlock time to perfect on-page SEO, convert visitors, build a legacy of unstoppable online dominance that echoes across you. So sometimes I'll take different pieces from the different versions and like kind of piece them together. And
Hmm.
really, I took 4 random eloquence formulas. So if this was an actual campaign, I'd be more focused on, okay,
Hmm.
for the type of copy, for the type of audience, things like that. But you can see how using different formulas can create great sales content. And with these formulas, for example, like these are different storytelling devices. So for building a blog post, we can have, actually, I'll show you something where you can actually give these devices to Claude or GPT or Grok and say, hey, build me a framework, like paragraph by paragraph. And I'll show you an example of something we did. All right. So this is called the Breakthrough Moment Framework. And basically, the prompt is, I need you to create a 2,000 word blog post using the following framework. Make sure to rate 8th grade level, weaving content that adheres to Google's EAT guidelines. So you can see the first paragraph, the revelation moment. So this is like telling a story about something, and then
Hmm.
it'll say use these rhetorical devices, and then use these storytelling devices, and this is the purpose. So then next set, different rhetorical devices, and basically it goes paragraph per paragraph, and then the framework implementation notes. So basically, it's a lot of fun when you're able to kind of piece different things together. And I have different sheets for different types of uh, yeah. So like emotional connection
Hmm.
ones, so aspirational messaging, empathy building. Obviously, that's a little different. If you're doing it for healthcare, empathy building and aspirational messaging, that might be a little more on
Hmm.
point for a link building site. But different brand identities, strategic, different positionings, identity formation techniques, differentiation strategies, like first principles positioning, semantic reframing, category transcendence, white space identification. Yeah, so it's
It's a lot. It's very thorough. And with the talk that you had in Chiang Mai, you were using like examples on landing pages, and I was actually curious if this you could apply the same sort of thing to like blog posts, and
oh yeah,
you can. So that's really awesome, and the level of specificity, it wows me.
yeah. I mean, took time to build all that, but it's continually being built out further and optimized further.
Hmm.
And depending on what you're writing content for, who you're writing content for, more specifically, uh, different devices can be better used in different areas. There might be some paragraphs in a blog post where you don't need any rhetorical devices because it would actually mess up the wording or whatever goal you're trying to get across. Um, but that's where the storytelling devices come in. So if there's isn't a rhetorical device you can use in order to make content, because rhetorical devices are primarily used to convince, persuade, convince, engage, and not every paragraph of content in a blog is for that. Sometimes it's to better explain. And
Hmm.
in that way, people understand a lot through story. So if you're interweaving storytelling devices with rhetorical devices, you just create incredible content.
Yeah, and for our users, I mean listeners, a rhetorical device, for example, in layman, I mean like everyday life, a euphemism would be a good example, right, Chris? So
Yeah.
that's it. That does it. But I mean, it totally blew my mind away, Chris, when I watched the video first when he shared it with me, and showed it to the team. I was like, we need to get Chris on, and pick his brain a little bit more, and I loved it. Where you had the SEO results for your clients and for yourself in like 24 hours. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it's really awesome to see. I was just prompting GPT because one one of my favorite devices. I'll share my screen again. Creating an adage. So I said now create an adage from the content. So rankings follow links, growth follows focus. Build links or build regret. Authorities not earned. Authorities earned, time is not. So you can, and then I can obviously give this to. Actually, I think this is something where Grok might do really, really well. I kind of made it rhyme a little bit. Leave links to us in
Ah.
the Euro SEO. Focus on pages that convert more. And yeah, so it's fun to play with them because I can literally just take a ton of different devices. I can just highlight these and then copy them and say, now do it for each one of these. And then I can say, okay, well, this one works best here. Well, you tend the garden of conversions, let others plant the seeds of authority. Creating ad, it's just kind of fun, especially like,
Yeah, whenever I'm messing around with like ChatGPT, it's always fun to see what it comes up with. But I've also found it difficult if I'm trying to get something specific. If I'm not specific, ChatGPT does whatever it wants. And
yep,
with what you're doing is you're really taking control, kind of meandering, the prompt so that you get something that you want that's usable, which I've always found is like the more specific you are with your prompts,
yep.
the better the output.
Oh yeah, whenever we're creating a mosaic campaign and we're creating a lot of pages, the prompt for each individual like paragraph on a page is like that big. It's very, very detailed, and that's kind of how we're able to create just really good content. And I'll show you just as an example. There's one client, they're a roofing client called Roof Simple, and we launched like 60 pages or 100 pages or something like that. And within 1 week, I checked, and the rankings were all, I mean, different cities and all throughout Virginia, number one, also in the AI overview, number one. They're just crushing it. And then even better was I was like, well, that's working really well. Let's see if our LLM strategy worked as well for this. So, so prompted different engines in different ways. So in GPT, like who's the best roofing company in Berryville, Virginia? Boom, number one. Whereas it was not that before. It wasn't even showing up. And then I tried changing it up a bit. So this, who's the top rated roofing company? And then pulled up Roof Simple. And I used Perplexity, who's the best roofing company? Pulling up Roof Simple. Grok, Roof Simple. ChatGPT, I need a new roof for I changed the search query. Like, I need a new roof for my house in Berryville. Who's the best roofing contractor I should call? Roof Simple. And I was like, I need roof repairs for my house with a slate roof. Roof Simple. So yeah, even in these LLMs, like they're loving the content, and it's working really well in traditional organic search and large language model search.
So would you say these rankings were sustainable? Like they held up time,
Oh yeah, they all do. Especially, I mean, when you're putting out the absolute best content, and then we're able to create pages with like 1,500 words of really great content. I mean, everyone else who's trying this programmatic approach, or not this one specifically, but a programmatic approach where they're creating landing pages for different cities, this level of detail and quality content is just not there. So until somebody can produce a page with better quality than the ones we produce for our clients, I mean, we're just going to sit at the top. And this is working in industries also. I obviously wanted to test this ourselves before ever selling it to clients. So we did it for ourselves. And, we have about 500 pages for SEO services in 500 different cities in the US. And we're going to be building more. But I mean, they generate probably about 40 leads a month for us inbound just through SEO. And B2B, especially in SEO, is pretty competitive. It's kind of tough to do that.
Oh yeah, it's unheard of, really.
Yeah. So at first I thought it was okay. Well, we have a DR65. That's probably why. And then I launched it on a few. I own some lead gen sites. They don't have such great authority. Like I think one was maybe a DR of like 2 or something like that. Launched 100 pages on it, and they're all like number 1, 2, and 3 in Google. And I was like, okay, so domain rating doesn't matter as much in this. I mean, it was pretty not as competitive as other industries, but we have definitely found in this very competitive spaces. So, for example, our SEO city pages for larger cities, that those are the ones that we really need to build backlinks to in order to get them to rank higher. Because just by themselves, sometimes they appear like at the bottom of page 1 or on page 2, but when everybody is competing for that term, for example, SEO Atlanta, Georgia, I'm not going to outrank the pages that have, 20 great links to them. Just not. I've tried, but it's the less competitive terms. So if it's like a smaller city like SEO Augusta, Georgia, or a smaller city outside of Austin here, like Bee Cave, Texas, it's a lot easier to rank in for that. But the more competitive terms, that's when we start building links to those pages that we made, because then now that now they check every box with quality content, unique content, and great authority, other people linking to them to the pages. It's like that's when it's really game over.
So when you're dealing with hundreds of pages, and in your talk you're referring to like how you can generate millions, how do you assess the quality of those pages? Like, is it a manual process? Do you have tools that help out, or is it just, how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it is a manual process. AI helps create content, but we have copywriters actually like prompting these LLMs and pasting the response in the individual cell and actually reading it. But also when we build custom projects in GPT and Claude, we have a list of like, don't use these banned words, all the little red flags that anyone can say AI content. And even still with those project instructions, our writers always catch, oh, that phrase was used, like skyrocket or game changing or ever changing in the ever evolving landscape of blah, blah,
It's a
blah.
skyrocketing game changer.
Oh, yeah. So no matter how much, and then one time I even got GPT to say, I don't know how else to say this. I was like, are you serious?
You broke ChatGPT.
Basically.
It's my only option.
Yeah. So I still, and so when I'm saying quality content, it's content that is, actually when someone reads it, it actually makes sense. And it's like, okay, well that's like what we tell our writers is, if you read that, put yourself in the client's shoes. Would that get you to convert? If not, adapt the prompt. We don't tell them to change the content itself. You need to change the prompt itself, because if we're using that prompt on a bunch of pages, that prompt needs to be perfect. Yeah, so they'll just tweak the prompt until it gives us quality content. And yeah, by quality, I mean something that actually, when you read it, it is convincing, or it gets the point across properly. It makes sense. And yeah, it just doesn't sound like crap, because you can land on some pages and you're just like, this was poorly written. I mean, everybody has their own standard of what quality content is. But I think if the content can do its job to create a conversion, that's what I'd consider quality.
So what about something like healthcare or YMYL sites, something with like standards and regulations? How do you, if you're using programmatic SEO, like how do you ensure that you have that specific kind of compliance? Like, is that possible? Is that something you can do?
Yeah. So you build custom projects in GPT and Claude and upload all the like HIPAA compliant marketing information. Basically, it works off of the knowledge that you give it, but also in the prompt, you have to remind it, hey, make sure that you're leveraging the documents. And sometimes in the prompts, we'll even name the specific documents you want to leverage or reference in the project. But also, it's funny because ChatGPT loves to pretend to be like a therapist. So it actually, so when you're telling it to act as, a therapist or something, it's impressively good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it also, once you say that, it also knows what it like can and cannot or should not say. It actually has pretty strict guidelines there.
That's super impressive. And would you say it's reliable? Like when you're feeding in the prompts and while you're prompting it, giving it the standards and stuff, do you need to be specific, or can it aggregate that data itself through its database?
Yeah, I mean it's reliable for the most part. It just the one thing that it just sucks at doing is following instructions in terms of what words to use and not use. No matter how many times you tell it, hey, don't use M dashes, those long dashes, it still loves to do it.
Interesting. I was kind of curious. In your video, you mentioned internal linking, interlinking, right? And that was amazing. How such a good, how the other pages were impacted by all the content that was good. So on the interlinking, did it generate those suggestions automatically, or was that a manual process for you? Is there a way to optimize that as well? Can you feed your website and say, hey, could you tell me what pages would be a good fit for internal linking in this piece of content?
Yeah, so we're testing different things, and in these projects, we've uploaded a lot of internal linking best practices, guides, things like that, and then also fed it our entire site. And so it's okay at it. It's not great. So while we still test different approaches to better automating it, right now we're still manually adding interlinks just because it's not fantastic at it. Sometimes it'll choose more words than necessary. It'll choose the wrong words to the wrong post, and it'll think it's relevant for some reason. I think that currently, just that manual approach also helps with that quality control.
Of course, yeah, and but the fact of the matter is the content is so good that adding an internal link to an appropriate page is just wonders for.
Yeah, so we see whenever we launch a campaign, when I say campaign, it's any amount of pages from 20 or more onto a site. We also see when the pages or the blog posts more specifically, that we're building these internal links to, those actually start to rank higher, because now instead of having 1 or 2 interlinks from other relevant posts, it'll have 5 more new interlinks with different anchor texts. So we see that the blog posts that we're interlinking to now with these hundreds of pages are all ranking better and for more keywords. So it's kind of, not only are you getting these great pages that are ranking at the top of Google, but your other pages are also now ranking better and rank more keywords.
Gotcha. And I also remember you had optimized the LLMs for generated reviews. Could you talk about that? That was really interesting. And did it work in reverse as well? Did they pick up the reviews manually from the SERPs as well, or was it again still feeding them into it or via the website? So how could you talk about that optimization process?
Oh, customer reviews?
That is correct, yes.
Whenever we're building these campaigns out, we have a list. So we'll take all of the reviews from Google or anywhere else a company has reviews, and we'll put them into the sheet. And so we'll randomize which reviews go on which pages so that no 2 pages have the same review. Sometimes a company might only have 50 reviews and we're creating 200 pages. So sometimes some pages will have the same review on it. But when you're randomizing which review goes on which page, it helps so that each page is showing reviews differently. But recently I've been also including the Trust Index WordPress plugin.
Okay.
Because that's a really easy way to just make sure the review schema is there as well. So there's, while we do add the HTML text reviews to these pages, we're also using dynamically generated review widgets, just so it can have that that review schema.
Gotcha. And I know you mentioned GPT and Claude in your talk and in our conversation here. So could you is there a preference, or you're saying use all of them, and pros and cons in your experience since you're using it so much?
Yeah, I use them all. Sometimes, sometimes one will output better content than the next, and it's crazy because it's almost like it depends on the time of day. Sometimes GPT will create better content. Sometimes Claude will. Claude likes to not follow instructions in terms of word count. So whenever and that's for brevity of content. So if you're trying to create, say, a 50-word paragraph, Claude's going to give you 60 words, no matter what.
Okay.
But on the flip side, if you want Claude to create like 2,000 words, it'll do it just fine. Whereas GPT will be like, here's 300.
Huh.
I've noticed, because I use GPT, of course, a lot more than anything else. Sometimes, and you use this exact term in your talk as well. It just seems lazy. Like it's like, oh, here you go, or like the answer is just like expect from an intern.
Yeah. So you have to babysit it and be basically like we'll say, hey, is that the best you can do? Or try again. And I've never asked it, is that the best you can do? And gotten worse content. It always is like, oh, you're right. It could be better, blah, blah, blah. And then it'll give me a better one. I'm like, why didn't you just do that up front?
Needed the pep talk.
I asked GPT to, give me a 16-day itinerary to Japan, and I gave it like really good prompts and exactly what I want to do. I gave it specific locations, told them my kids, their ages, like everything that we want to do. And it ended up giving me 12 days of itinerary, right? And I was like, hey, you ate 2 days. Like, what's gonna say? Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, here you go. Here's a revised one. I was like, yeah, that was, and it didn't do it once. It did it like a couple of times for like in different scenarios. But the fact that it can be on purpose, or I would say just to kind of, I don't know. I question that. Because it's at the end of the day, it's AI, it's smart, it's giving you everything you want, but at times it's doing that. So I'm wondering if it's built into it, or maybe it's a bandwidth issue that they're making it do it on purpose so that it feels a little bit more natural. Because you expect that for a person to do, right? So if I ask you for a recommendation, you might miss out a point or two. And it's like, oh, what about that point, right? And so yeah, it's kind of curious.
Yeah. So the workaround there basically is getting more specific. So you almost want to start by saying, hey, I'm going to need your help creating a 16-day itinerary, and however whatever else is in your prompt. But what you want to say is, I want you to go day by day asking me questions before creating the next day. So if day one you want to go visit different types of restaurants, it'll start asking you, okay, what kind of food do you like? Do you have any food allergies? Blah, blah, blah. And then, so what you want to do is say, ask me questions before continuing. And that way it'll help. And then once it's gone day by day, then you can say, okay, now give me the entire itinerary.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's all about like figuring out how it works so you can make it work for you.
So, Chris, what's next for you, man? I mean, are there uncharted territories on the horizon? You haven't discovered something you have your eye on that you want to learn? Like, what's going on? Could you tell us about that?
Trying to work with building agents. Running into some roadblocks here and there. They're not great. I think it's kind of like the beginning of AI agents, kind of like how it was with the beginning of AI in general. It was like, no matter what you prompt it, you get bleh content. You read it, you're like, ew, I could have done better. But
could you elaborate for our users on exactly what that is?
Yeah,
listeners, sorry, user. I keep saying user. I'll get
for our listeners.
Yeah, I'll get used to it.
If you could elaborate on AI agents.
Yeah, so building an AI agent, you're taking APIs from different, basically, there's vertical agents and there's horizontal agents. Right now, we're building vertical agents that are very specialized in what they do. So, for example, an agent that'll be great at interlinking, an agent that'll be great at writing headers, an agent that's really good at blog content, one that's good at sales content, but they can work together to build something. And yeah, we're kind of like, I don't want to say the beginning stages, but we've definitely successfully built vertical agents that are working together in order to create content and do SEO research, but they're not perfect at all in any way. They definitely still need a lot of manual review. We keep adding more like context and details to how these agents should act, perform. But ultimately, if we can build the right system of agents, it can do a lot of the heavy uplifting and, say, creating a mosaic sheet with all the different prompts. Basically, if it knows what all the prompts are from a prior campaign, restructuring them for a different industry. Yeah, there's a lot of manual work. So right now we're trying to figure out how we can automate different manual processes, but it's a little tough. So people don't have to fear for their jobs just yet.
It's a work in progress, it sounds like. Yeah. The that always it with the AI is gonna steal our jobs sort of thing. Whenever I hear that, I just think of, well, it's a tool, and it's really about the people who don't know how to use this new tool. They're the ones who aren't going to be, maintaining their positions, because people who can use this tool are going to do things better. And I think that's true with any sort of advancement in technology. And I think when people are like looking at it, it's like, oh, AI is going to steal our jobs, but it's also going to be creating new jobs. So like when people are talking about like prompt engineers, for example, it's opening doors as well as stopping other things from happening. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the way it was, because nothing ever is.
Yeah. I mean, things are always changing and evolving, and jobs are going away. There used to be a job of an elevator cranker, where you crank the elevator up for you. Thank God that anymore. Like, oh no, like elevators are going to take our jobs. Okay. Like,
oh, yeah, because they actually had to manually pull a lever, and it would go up, and then they had to stop it when it reached the appropriate floor. So then they had it all automated, and then they didn't have their jobs.
Well, I would have taken the stairs if I saw if it's an engineer with a lever in their hand and I'm at their behest, then oof.
I've been in one of those elevators where they had. I was at a hotel, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be on the third floor," and I was like, "Okay, thank you." And they said, "Oh, wait for me." And I was really confused. And then they had to open it up for me, and then they had the crank there, and she was trying to, make it as flush as possible, but it was just like it was a very weird thing. It was a blast from the past kind of elevator. It's cool though.
I have a crazy elevator story. I was in an elevator in Pakistan, and it was my my aunt's house, and they lived in this old 1900s building, and they had an elevator in there, and they lived on the third floor, and four of us got in, and my second cousin, or my cousin, we pushed the the floor button, and it's like, all right, everybody jump. I'm like, what? I was like, oh, you jump. And the second we all jumped, all four of us, the elevator started moving. And so apparently that it was so old that for it to kind of, it couldn't handle the weight. And you had to lift yourself just a little bit for the elevator to, Yeah, so that was my frightening elevator story that gave me a phobia of elevators for a while. It's like, no, thank you, I'll take stairs. So
I mean, that's something that AI just cannot replace currently. Maybe in the future at some point, I don't even know when it would be, but it doesn't have experience. It can't tell a story like you did.
Yeah,
it can't.
Yeah.
There's a lot it can't do, and so many people that are worried about their jobs being taken, they're concerned about what it can do, not what it can't do. And if you focus on what it can't do and using what it can do to better enhance your job, you don't have much to worry about. And then also comedy, for example, I don't know if you ever tried to use GPT to create funny things. It doesn't have a sense of humor.
It's not funny at all.
It's not, no. So, I think it's a new age for comedians to get even bigger, because their content's going to stand out. People who can tell stories, their content's going to stand out. Thought leadership, that's going to stand out. And guess what? All those things are what people want most. They don't want trash content that, that they want stories, experiences, humor, all those things. Like ChatGPT, like I showed you, I built a storytelling outline for a blog post, but you still have to kind of review it to see like, okay, well, what is the story? Does it even like vibe with an actual human experience at all?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot that AI as of now cannot do, because it's just not a human, doesn't have human lived experience or real human emotions in any way. And there's hundreds of emotions. And when a human can leverage AI to do the heavy lifting while being able to explain, put in real emotion in the content, that's where you're going to win.
Gotcha. Since you brought up comedy, I was kind of curious. You're based in Austin. Have you visited Mothership, the Joe Rogan? I'm meaning to go there.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I go like usually once a month. There's been times where we've gone twice
Oh well,
in a month. I love it.
It seems like a lot of fun. I love.
It'll be fun.
I've been watching Kill Tony videos, and I think it's held in there. So
Yeah.
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 Interesting.
Their Comedy Mothership is great.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
So shifting gears a little bit to the API leaks. Just wanted to know what's your take on those leaks, and what are your thoughts, and are you doing anything differently based on what you found?
Like, not really.
No.
I mean, there were some things. I feel like the leaks just proved what the SEO industry already knew.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of evidence that we were doing things right. I didn't really see much that I was like, oh, that's something new and crazy that we've been missing. Like, we're getting great rankings across the board. It's not like it revealed some crazy reason why I wasn't ranking for something like,
Yeah. So it was really just giving you some confirmation on stuff you're already doing, and didn't reveal anything that was that required like a massive turn left.
No, it was. I mean, it showed, I think there was a lot that showed that there's a lot of different things that matter when it comes to rankings. Especially, I think it was more so around the local rankings for Google Maps.
Mhm.
There were some, I can't recall exactly. I think I learned a few things there, but nothing that changed our processes in any way.
Okay.
Yeah, for us it was a godsend. Link building was essentially validated there. So I mean, we saw. I mean, we grew a lot just after that because it was like, oh, there you go, it's confirmed.
Yeah.
But it was interesting, the sheer volume of data that we had. So it was kind of nice to see that little validation there.
Yeah, but also like link building is huge for LLMs as well. I mean, there was a study done where it showed there was a 0.6 correlation where if you rank on page one of Google, you're likely to get like referenced or surfaced in AI search results. So if you're building links to pages and they're showing up on page one of Google, you have better than a 50% chance at actually also showing up in like GPT.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I encourage our listeners and viewers to check out your that video that you put up. It was amazing. I was fascinated by the featured snippets that you had for that law firm, and they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that for a bit? Like how did that all work? The getting featured snippets on.
Yeah, so on these pages, we create FAQs and then wrap it in FAQ schema and make the FAQs, very conversational. And I've actually built frameworks for FAQs that work really well. So basically, part of the process is reverse engineering what's already proven to work. So if some of the terms that we're chasing after have featured snippets, well, I'll just grab those featured snippets and then have ChatGPT reverse engineered the exact formula for creating a very similar one. So I'll talk you through an example of so starting with an introductory statement that sets the overall answer context in sentence one, then emphasize the first key point in sentence two, then emphasize the next key point in three, and then a final statement that sums up the answer and echoes the central theme in sentence four. So there's ways you can take what you're seeing already works, and then break that down into a literary framework, so that, and then you slowly build those more and more, and now you have a library of specific frameworks of the way content is structured that have all showed up number one in like a feature snippet.
Wow, amazing. It's that was one of the things that we were internally looking at as well on doing. So it was great insight there.
And then I guess also for our listeners' benefits, to get some of your insights, what would you say are some essential skills for SEO? Like what should people try to excel in? Like what do they need?
I mean, definitely leveraging AI. I mean, that's like number one. If you get familiar, I'd say get familiar with basic types of code like CSS, HTML, JavaScript, because when you can have AI build like interactive tables or different interactive elements for your site, pages with better user experience tend to rank a little better. Google can see if somebody's spending time on your page. So that's one thing that we've really focused heavily on, is as people are concerned right now so much about AI overviews stealing their traffic. The approach we're taking is force Google to send us traffic by having things like quizzes, calculators, just any type of interactive elements, tables on your page, so that Google can't, because guess what? They can't show those interactive elements in an AI overview. So that kind of change. What we've seen is that Google will sometimes not show an AI overview, but instead show the page, and then it drives traffic there, because that's, if someone's looking for a specific calculator, the AI overview can't show that calculator. So it's just going to send people directly there. And so as an SEO, learning how to really optimize for the user experience and get good at like design. And when I say design, like blog post design, making sure that you're adding, like I said, different elements, images, things like that, being able to create a very engaging piece of content or engaging page, that's going to be huge. Because if you can go in and create something that's engaging with a lot of different images and just different features, it's likely that page will rank better. But also, I mean, being an SEO, you've got to be good at a lot of different things. But if you can use AI to speed your job up, that's going to be essential. Obviously, getting good at interlinking, understanding how to do link building properly in terms of choosing the right anchor text, choosing the right pages to build links to. That's the job of an SEO is very multifaceted, but getting basically, like, if you're getting into SEO now, learn how to just use AI. No matter what task you're doing, if you think it's impossible for AI to do, I don't care. Like, you just prompt it and say, this is what I'm working on. Here's what I'm doing. How can you help me? What can you do to make my job easier or better or faster?
Nice. Yeah. AI. It's the future. It's already here.
Yeah.
And I think it's time for a shameless plug. How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah. Directly through our website, or you can follow me on LinkedIn, send me a message on LinkedIn. I do check my LinkedIn messages, although I do get a lot of spammy ones, like 10 a day probably, of people trying to sell me something. So if I don't respond at first, just send me another message, and I will more than likely see it if you send it twice. Or, like I said, you can go through our website. So we have a contact form on our website and everything. You can get in touch with me there. But if you want to get in touch with me directly, LinkedIn's probably the quickest approach to that.
And do you have any resources, Chris, that you can put us on your website that listeners and viewers can go and check out? Obviously, we'll leave a link for the video, but I know you have some on your site that if you want to direct people to.
Yeah. So let me see. I know it's in our footer. So direction.com/downloads. We've been building some resources around different eloquence formulas and rhetorical devices and things like that. Just different PDFs you can check out that we've built. So direction.com/downloads.
That's great. Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Chris of direction.com. And thank you all for watching and listening.